Okay. So welcome in to Philadelphia Walks PTSD. My name is Sharon Cole, or Sharon or Cole, or whatever you want to call me. Um, Rat, pig, horse, squirrel, dog. I used to be called a cat, but they took that one away and replaced it with a dog. And uh, whatever, mole, rat, gerbil, hamster. I've been called everything under the sun, every implication. I don't know why, but I don't care. So, anyway, if nothing else, I'm stronger and I'm used to taking the hits on a regular basis. So, and I don't mean necessarily here in YouTube land. I'm here to talk about of course, it's one video each day, 365 days. This is day 55 of a 365-day campaign to raise money and to find donors, big and tall, short and small, to make up for a life lost, a life stolen, a diminished quality of life, as lawyers would say. Who conspired to unleash the dogs, or who let the dogs out? I'll have to use that song the next time. On Sharon. And what was it? Biblical people would say, oh, they came for the feast. And I see all these snowstorms all across America. And I actually wonder who is targeted right now and how many. Because we had record blizzards, unlike anything they'd seen since 1941, in 2011, when I was made to believe I'd be murdered in my apartment. And if that weren't enough, the games commenced. And all these people who I had slowly met in the years prior, like just in the few years prior to 2011, all of a sudden they started acting like morons, as if I were some crazy person, but they were the ones who attacked me. And they acted the opposite of what supportive people would act like. Oh, this crazy thing happened last night. I thought I'd be murdered in my apartment. Normally people say, oh my God, are you okay? Is there anything I can do? Whatever, say the word. This is, you should probably, maybe you could apply for, try to get like some sort of help or victims compensation or whatever. No, instead they said, oh, is it your perception or reality of what happened? So something came up and I want to thank a viewer, Adam. I appreciate it. I hope it's okay that I keep mentioning him here. Adam Flint of Houston, Texas. He a guitar teacher who wound up with I think a master's degree in music theory / guitar, what have you. So pretty smart person. Never judge a book by its cover. I wouldn't say that because I actually think he's one of the most beautiful people on the planet. So I appreciate him being very kind to me. But he wrote a few words in an email last night, and I was like, and he was talking about a hockey game. He's like, you think it was a war of attrition, and they're hating being a raison d'etre, reason to be, or in French it would be like a raison d'etre or something like that. And I thought about this because I'm human and I've had my share of like, I'm angry at people and all this. In general, I was in a pretty good place in 2010, leading up to 2011. I was pretty happy. And I thought I had all these like loving, supportive people around me who saw that, it was like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, or the turning of the heads, if you will. And all of a sudden you see the ugly or evil side. But anyway, there must have been a lot of haters or demonic entities feeding on the feast. But it seems to be, when I looked up the word attrition, just to doubly make sure I understood what it was, because from context, it's like, okay, what does that mean? But it would mean an all-out assault or attack on a person or a group or what have you in order to diminish their effectiveness or lifeblood, if you will. In a way, it did feel that way. And I wondered if there was a war of attrition upon me as someone who, I don't know if I was effective or not. I was basically just a normal person, but it diminished my effectiveness and quality of life. And by the way, quality of life being diminished by two or more people, if proven to show who the two or more people were who conspired to do so, that would actually be a charge in a court of law, conspiracy charge. And people are afraid to use the word conspiracy because it has such a bad connotation. Oh, conspiracy theorists is what people think of. Oh my God, they're crazy conspiracy theory. Actually, conspiracy happens all the time. People, there's competition between businesses, and it's expected that people are going to conspire to try to diminish your effectiveness as a business so that their business can go up. This is the way of the world in America, big time. So conspiracies are happening all the time. And I thought these words were pretty good words for me to use. So someone's reason for being was to carry out an act of attrition or a war of attrition against me, I guess. And I don't even think I'm that special. I'm kind of curious what prompted it or what was behind it. And I see it as having created a master lock, if you will. Around here, we see master locks all over properties because either people are handling real estate dealings or what have you. So master locks need to be there for the realtors or from whoever's coming in. Also, regular property owners have them just for their help to come in. Handymen or cleaning ladies, even dog walkers have had to use the actual master lock to get a key out, to open the door, and so forth and so on. But they're so prevalent here that it becomes a little bit of a gang stalking, and dare I use the term. But anyway, gang stalking involves creating anchors in the brain. So certain things like a master lock could turn up to be ones that every time you see it, it kind of pathologizes or bears a hole into your brain as, oh God, it's a master lock. Because people in my position, and me specifically, I can speak for myself, every time I feel like I have a moment of peace or can feel free to pursue, like, okay, I see a path opening up. Maybe I can try to look for a job here, or I could try to figure out a way to move to another place and be in a quieter, more peaceful environment, so forth and so on. It's something comes in to have to grab that peace away. It's hard to explain, but there have been more peaceful moments lately and for a little bit longer of a duration. And I'm wondering if today it's incredibly peaceful because yesterday we had quite a whippoorwill of activity outside, and it's almost like the darker side of humanity comes out to feed. It's like a feast, and we gather for the feast, Hotel California song. It's kind of like that. I kind of stayed in for the most part, except aside from a dog walk, like a couple dog walks, stayed inside for the afternoon while trying to, make some phone calls, see if there's a place I could work to get more money coming in. I kind of begrudgingly decided to go outside just to do a live stream really quick. As soon as I walked out, boom, I already knew there was stuff going on because there was a Kia Soul with the license plate LYZ, and then the numbers. Philadelphia has, or the Pennsylvania or Philadelphia region has LYZ right now on a lot of license plates. And if you read it, it could look like lies. And say you're worried about paying rent or keeping a roof over your head, and someone from the seeming biblical realm would say, well, you don't have a soul to be able to have a key to a house. You see, the Kia Soul has been used relentlessly, as has the Odyssey. And I'm kind of curious, like, what motivates someone to buy a Honda Odyssey or a Kia Soul? So I have a key, I'm adulting, and somehow I wound up with a fake job. I'm kidding. I'm not saying it's fake, but there are a lot of jobs out there. I'm kind of wondering how they came into being. But anyway, jobs are created. So, and hopefully it's a good place or whatever, but there are people who will purposely buy a Kia Soul because they had a soul that gets to have a roof overhead. That's how bad the issue is. There are messages out here all the time, and people have been trained over time to keep reading messages, and they can be highlighted or magnified. It's hard to explain. Sometimes I go out and I try not to pay attention. You put the blinders on, but there was so much activity going on that it's like, just walked into somebody's feast, if you will. So anyway, and it could be an intel feast, meaning it's a high intelligence community. And I don't know how everybody operates in order to get their paychecks or what have you, but that could be part of it. And you'd be surprised. It's kind of easy to be able to place cars in certain locations. So directly in front of the place where I live, a Kia Soul, and then lies on the license plate. It depends on how you read it. I realize it could be a positive way to read it. Also, it was an enterprise car because you could barely tell, but there was a little piece of paper inside the back window that said it was an enterprise car, rent-a-car, and enterprise has been shown or revealed as enterprise. So it would be as if someone was waiting for their prize to be presented on them, to them, whatever. So I just wanted to put that out there. It's incredibly quiet this morning, so I'm enjoying it, trying to. And for a second, I started to see like a path before me, like, oh, I could go in this direction and I'll try these opportunities. Sometimes I love the city, but it's, just too much. And I keep visualizing a more idyllic place. I know it exists, to feel calm and peaceful and to be able to work and be productive and not be constantly agitated by those committing attrition against other people on purpose. And I know it takes a lot to actually say that because one can seem delusional or paranoid or this, that, and the other. But anyone who experiences whatever I experienced, I knew immediately and was told immediately in January of 2011, you will never live life the same. You will have to adapt to new conditions, period. And I'm being kind in the way that I say it. My life changed on a dime overnight. Done. If this were to happen to you, you would know immediately you would have to adapt. No questions asked. You would know. And I've heard people say in the past, like, oh, I knew I was going to marry this person, or I knew, and I always wondered, like, where's that knowing come from? Like, how do people wind up married? Or, oh, I just knew I wanted kids. And well, in my case, bam, you will have to live this way from now on. That's it. And that's, I'm laying down the law. That's how bad that was. And I'm like a really sweet, nice person. So normally, but I can be triggered into PTSD because, they gather for the feast a lot in Philadelphia. I'm sure a lot of people have opinions about this area because it's so close to Washington, D.C. I don't know what to say. All I know is that I can speak about what happened to me, which I do very often, in fact, daily on this channel. And I really do need the help from those people who recognize and understand what happened here. I'm here in this apartment now. I've never owned a home. I have a Go Trax, so I haven't had a car in about 23 years, since 2000. So I gave up a car to move here to be able to afford to live in a city. And I had a normal job at that time. It was at a publishing company. But anyway, there are people out there who know what it is. I really just want to have a cute little bungalow home. And I know you can even you don't have to have a fabulous job in order to own a home, just a steady income to prove that you can pay your mortgage, at least in another town and smaller. I've been to smaller towns and thought, oh, well, if these people can get this home, it's possible for someone who hasn't made it big in corporate land or publishing land to actually be able to have a home and a normal life. So that's my goal. I'm here now because I worked for Shift during the pandemic. And oddly, I hustled big time because I was scared to not have a roof over my head. I was afraid to be homeless. And I just kept working. I lived with my mom and aunt at the time. They've since passed away. And I used my mom's car from 1996, 96, 97 Ford Escort LS Maroon. It looked like Cheech and Chong barreling down the, Route 13 or 441 or Martin Luther King. I'm trying to shop for a million shoppers. And there was a lot of work during that time period. People were sort of forced to shop through delivery options. And that's how I made a lot of money. And I'm draining that as we speak. I don't do anything. In fact, most of the things I have in here are free because in Philadelphia, they actually leave stuff on the street. And that's how Philly is. So, I had a whole new outfit found on the street, fit perfectly, as if the gods above knew my size after I had dropped a bunch of weight, green juicing back in the day. So anyway, we won't get into it. I need to carve down this path. I need to find a better place and be able to own a home. And ideally, I have asked for between $5 and $8 million. Because for the people who were left behind in our family, the people who didn't get to rake in the winnings of assets, from our father or grandfather, or from the place where our mom paid a lot in order to stay with her sister, my aunt. A bunch of other people got to rake in those winnings. And the rest of us were left behind and weren't part of those conversations. So I feel like myself and a few others in my family deserve a break. So I decided to ask for 8 million. 5 million would cover myself, my sister, and the 3 kids that she gave birth to. But 8 million would cover a nephew's family. And I would actually share that money. I would actually split it equally to prove that people are supposed to help other people as best they can. I would do more. I wish I could help people. I literally pay rent, I pay my phone, and we're lucky if we can eat. I've actually had SNAP benefits. Okay, so that's it. Have a beautiful day, and hoping to reach all those people who kind of get it and understand, whether it's the intelligence world or the spiritual world, or if they're all combined, who's good, who's evil. Mercy, Addie's soldier, please help me, because I do feel like I was used big time in a soldier-like way, and I do worry about people who are used even more than I was and wind up flipping out all over the place and taking the fall for somebody else's terroristic agenda. So anyway, okay, with that said, have a beautiful day, and I'll see you on the flip side. Thanks.